To celebrate my daughter's birthday, I took out the meat coupons I had saved up over 6 months by scrimping and saving. But someone noticed they were fake. I ended up being detained for 7 days, and when I got home, I discovered my daughter had died from pneumonia. Facing my husband's blame and beatings, I was so filled with guilt that I didn't dare speak up. I kept silent, endured everything, until one day I overheard him drunkenly confessing the truth. It was him who had swapped my real coupons for fake ones. He wanted to keep both options open to please both sides. I died of sheer rage. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the very day I had walked into the supply and marketing cooperative. These coupons are fake. The shop clerk flung a few shopping coupons in my face, the sting snapping me back to reality. It hurt, just enough to make me certain I had come back to life. The look in the shop clerk's eyes was the same as in my previous life, filled with formality and disdain. "Do you know that using fake coupons is illegal?" His sharp voice rang throughout the entire store. Everyone shopping turned to look at me, whispering and pointing. People these days, unbelievable. Using fake coupons just for a bite to eat. Someone like that should be arrested. My daughter, Emma, was still young and didn't understand what they were saying. But she could feel their scornful stares and hear the mocking in their voices. Uneasy and frightened, she grabbed my hand and looked up, whispering, "Mommy." Looking down at her frail and bony figure, my nose burned and tears nearly fell. In my previous life, after returning from the countryside, I had been assigned to work in a cardboard factory. Soon after, I was introduced to a man named David Miller, an employee at the supply cooperative, and we got married. Our salaries were modest, and with Emma's birth not long after, life quickly became tight. Then, as if fate hadn't dealt us enough, David's older brother died suddenly, leaving behind a widow and 2 children. David's mother was so devastated she fell seriously ill. From then on, most of David's salary went toward her medical expenses, and the 3 of us had to survive on my $20 monthly income. Because of long-term malnutrition, Emma looked much smaller and weaker than kids her age. My heart ached for her. I clenched my teeth and took out the meat coupons I had been saving for 6 months just to let her have some meat on her birthday. But when I tried to buy meat at the cooperative, the clerk discovered they were fake. I defended myself, insisting I had saved for months and that the coupons were real, but he didn't believe me and even tore them up in front of me. I was devastated and angry, and we ended up in a shouting match. Eventually, I was taken to the police station and detained for 7 full days. When I was released, I found out Emma had come down with a fever from the cold and the shock that day. She had collapsed from a high fever and was taken to the hospital. I rushed there, stumbling and terrified, only to find her tiny, cold body. My entire world collapsed. After that, people around us started gossiping, saying it was my gluttony that killed my daughter. Even my parents and siblings began to distance themselves from me. David became even more violent, scolding and hitting me constantly. Because of the guilt, I never once resisted. I silently endured the pain, both physical and emotional, dragging myself through life like a ghost for over 10 years. Until one day, David's nephew Kevin got accepted into college. David was overjoyed and got drunk. In his drunken rambling, I finally learned the truth. After his brother's death, he took it upon himself to look after his widowed sister-in-law, Lily Brooks. Over time, the 2 of them got involved. All the shopping coupons I had worked so hard to save were secretly given to her. To keep me from noticing, David had forged various coupons and left them at home. He never thought someone as frugal as me would suddenly use meat coupons. That's why I got caught. While I was locked up for those 7 days, no one took care of Emma. She burned with fever for 3 days before David even noticed and took her to the hospital. By then, it was too late. When I found all of this out, my anger and grief exploded inside me. I couldn't catch my breath and died from the shock. And when I opened my eyes again, I was back at the cooperative, having just handed over 6 meat coupons to the shop clerk. I held back my tears and hugged my skin and bone daughter tightly. David Miller. Lily Brooks. This time, you'll both pay. "Sir, you must have made a mistake," I said, facing the crowd's judgmental stares with a forced, awkward smile. "These coupons were issued by my work unit. I've been saving them for half a year. How could they possibly be fake?" The shop clerk sneered. "It doesn't matter how long you saved, fake is still fake." What exactly is fake about it? I picked up the meat coupons from the counter and held them up for the crowd to see. Everyone, look, aren't these meat coupons? 6 meat coupons, each marked for 2 ounces. Yeah, they look just like the ones we usually use. She's even got a kid with her. She probably wouldn't dare use fakes. Seeing the murmur spreading, the clerk stepped out from behind the counter, snatched the coupons out of my hand, then slapped a real one onto the counter. Compare them yourself. Do they look the same? He grabbed my arm and shouted, "You're using fake coupons and still denying it. I'm taking you to the police." His fierce expression scared Emma. Her tiny body shrank, burying her face in my chest. I quickly pulled my arm free from the clerk and raised my voice. "You're being completely unreasonable. I'm telling you, my husband works here at the supply cooperative too." As I spoke, I called out loudly, "David, David Miller." A familiar figure stepped out from behind the curtain. It was my husband, David. I tightened my grip around Emma's hand, but my heart boiled with rage. "David," the clerk said smugly, "someone tried to use fake meat coupons. I caught her red-handed." Before I could respond, the clerk yanked my arm again. "Susan." David froze for a second when he saw me, then a flicker of panic crossed his face. "Ryan, this is my wife. There must be some misunderstanding." "What misunderstanding?" the clerk named Ryan said, clearly unwilling to back down. Pointing at the coupons, he said loudly, "The ink on the official stamp is the wrong color, and the date print is all off." My eyes fell to where he was pointing. The stamp was indeed lighter than the ones I remembered, and the date was smudged, not crisp like a real coupon. I immediately demanded, "Then explain this. These meat coupons came from your supply cooperative too. How could they be fake?" David cleared his throat and pulled me aside. "Susan, this is a misunderstanding. Just take Emma home for now. I'll explain everything after I get off work." "A misunderstanding?" I raised my voice even louder, forcing everyone to turn and look at us. "David Miller, you owe me an explanation right now. The 3 of us have been surviving on gruel and pickled vegetables for months, without a single bite of meat. I finally managed to save up over a pound's worth of coupons. How are they fake?" With everyone's eyes locked on him, David's face flushed with embarrassment. Out of options, he leaned in close and whispered so only I could hear, "Susan, stop making a scene. The coupons are fake. I gave the real ones to Lily." That's when I realized David had never once referred to Lily Brooks as his sister-in-law. He always called her Lily, soft and familiar. "Lily's raising Kevin alone. Life's hard for her. It was Kevin's birthday the other day, so I gave them the meat coupons. At least the kid could have a good meal. I know how hard you worked to save those, but I figured you wouldn't agree." "Why make trouble? I swapped them out for fake ones, thinking it'd be easier. And you? What were you thinking, buying meat out of the blue like this? Now you've been found out using fake coupons. Where do you think that leaves me?" I stared at David's shameless, rambling mouth, unable to hold back anymore. I set Emma down and slapped him across the face, hard. The slap silenced everyone. All eyes widened in shock as I pointed at David and shouted, "David Miller, you're out there playing caretaker to some widow." I didn't say a word. "But how dare you use my meat coupons?" "Susan, that's enough," David snapped, his expression darkening. "Lily is my sister-in-law. She's raising a child on her own. It's not easy. Your coupons were just sitting there. What's wrong with me giving them to her?" "You're a grown woman. Do you really want to fight over a few bites of meat with a child?" And then I heard that I couldn't hold it in any longer. My voice rose so loud it startled David mid-rant and made Emma burst into tears. I scooped her up, gently trying to soothe her before glaring furiously at David. Kevin, is that all you care about now?" I shouted. "Do you even remember that today is Emma's birthday?" "She's just a girl," David blurted out. How could she compare to Kevin? The moment those words left his mouth, he realized how wrong they sounded. His usually blank, simple face showed a rare flicker of shame. "David Miller, are you even human?" I snapped. "Emma is your own daughter, and yet in your eyes she's worth less than some distant nephew?" David's face darkened with frustration. "Kevin is my brother's son. We share the same blood. My brother's gone, and now I'm the closest thing he has to a father. Emma and Kevin are the same in my heart." I wiped away a tear and said coldly, "Then you go buy meat. Let my daughter have some too." David sighed, helpless. "Susan, can you stop making a scene? You know my monthly quota isn't much. where am I supposed to find more meat coupons to buy meat for Emma? He bent down, gently touched Emma's cheek, and coaxed her softly. Emma, sweetheart, can we skip the meat just for today? I'll buy you some tomorrow for your birthday, okay? Emma looked at him, then at me, and nodded quietly. David gave a satisfied smile and turned to me, shrugging. See? Even Emma agrees. So stop this, Susan. It felt like a huge weight had been dropped on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Was I really the one being unreasonable here? David Miller, I said slowly, do you even understand that using fake coupons is a crime? He ran a hand through his hair in irritation and grumbled, I didn't expect you to suddenly decide to buy meat. And anyway, you're fine, aren't you? Do you really have to drag this out forever? His total lack of remorse made my stomach turn. I took a deep breath, then slapped my thigh hard and collapsed onto the floor, crying loudly. I can't go on like this. Our own family is eating scraps, and you're giving meat coupons away to someone else. David Miller, I want a divorce. Right then, my sister-in-law Lily Brooks walked into the store with Kevin. She pressed Kevin's head down and made him bow to me. Her voice was soft and timid. I'm sorry. David only helped us because he saw how hard it's been for a widow and her child. I didn't mean to upset you. Susan, I sincerely apologize. Don't worry, no matter how hard things get, I'll find a way to repay you. I'll give back every last coupon. She gave David a mournful look before lowering her eyes again. If I have to, I'll wash clothes, cook, whatever it takes. I'll collect enough coupons so your Emma can eat meat too. That made David flinch. He quickly walked over and wrapped an arm around Lily's shoulder, whispering something softly to comfort her. Lily sobbed quietly, leaning into him completely. Watching the two of them in that shameless display, I stood up and walked to the clerk, Ryan. Comrade, help me report this to the police. Theft and forgery are crimes. David stared at me in disbelief. Susan Marshall, are you insane? I'm not insane. I fixed my hair calmly and gave him a cold stare, then looked at the two of them still clinging to each other. I'm a law-abiding citizen. When I see a crime, I report it, no matter who's involved. I stood tall, my voice clear and firm. From the crowd, someone shouted, "That's the spirit." Then applause broke out around me. Thank you, everyone, I said solemnly, bowing deeply to the onlookers. David trembled with rage. Susan, you can't do this. Lily, her face red with humiliation, cried out, David is your husband. He's more like your brother-in-law than your husband. Then, overcome with emotion, Lily covered her face with one hand and dragged Kevin out of the store with the other. Lily? Kevin. David yelled after them, shooting me a furious glare. Susan Marshall, if anything happens to them, I swear I'll make you pay. He tried to chase after them, but several people stepped in and held him back. Do we still need to call the police? Ryan asked. Yes, I said firmly. Absolutely. Just then, a middle-aged man walked out of the back office, his expression grim. He stared coldly at David. A staff member of the supply cooperative involved in forging coupons? If word of this gets out, it'll ruin our whole unit's reputation. These days, whether it's theft or forgery, it's a serious crime. The police arrived quickly. After a brief inquiry, they took David away. The commotion began to die down, and people at the supply cooperative started to disperse. I walked over to the manager, looking at him with quiet sorrow. You're the one in charge here, right? Comrade, is something the matter? He asked. I want a divorce from David Miller. Please help me file the paperwork. He sighed and reached into the counter, pulling out a piece of candy and handing it to Emma. Then he simply said, Come with me. Not long after, I left the cooperative holding Emma's hand with a divorce report folded in my pocket. Back at home, I quickly reheated some leftovers and fed Emma until she was full. Only then did I pull out the savings box I had hidden at the bottom of a trunk. I opened it and took out all the shopping coupons inside, holding them up to the sunlight to check one by one. As I feared, every single coupon was fake. My hands trembled. Just how long had that bastard David been swapping out everything in the house? Before I could fully process the shock, I suddenly heard Emma crying in the yard. Startled, I rushed outside and saw Kevin shoving her. He even snatched the candy out of her hand. Standing beside him were David's vicious mother and Lily Brooks, who was dabbing at her eyes as if crying. Emma, I hurried over and shoved Kevin away from her. Susan Marshall, David's mother shrieked. I always knew you had a wicked heart. And I was right. Sending your own husband to the police wasn't enough? Now you dare lay a hand on my eldest grandson? She raised her hand to hit me, but I caught her wrist before the blow landed. In my past life, she had never liked me, especially after I gave birth to a daughter. Obsessed with sons, she didn't so much as offer a kind word during my recovery, let alone help. After Emma died, she had practically cursed me daily, every word aimed to stab straight into my heart. In this life, I wouldn't let even David get away with what he did. There was no chance I'd let this woman continue lording over me. I stared her down and said coldly, "Your son broke the law. He forged fake coupons and stole the real ones I saved. He deserves what's coming to him. You spend your life meddling, spreading poison. No wonder one son's dead and the other's going to prison. My words struck deep. Her eyes rolled back and she fainted on the spot. Lily collapsed to her knees beside her, sobbing, "Mama, wake up. If something happens to you, what will I do?" The ruckus brought out almost everyone in the courtyard. Neighbors quickly formed a circle around David's mother and Lily. "What happened?" Mrs. Wang from the east side hurried over when she saw the old woman lying unconscious. Lily shot a teary, pitiful glance in my direction. "It's because David gave me and Kevin some of the meat coupons. My sister-in-law got upset and sent David to the police. That's what caused all this." "Susan," scolded Mrs. Zhang from the West Wing, "this is really not right. A family should talk things through. How could you send the child's father to the police?" "Yeah," someone else chimed in. "It doesn't look good for anyone. Over what, helping a relative? Would the police even care about that?" Mrs. Wang fanned David's mother and looked at me. "What happened, really?" I gave a cold laugh and looked straight at Lily. "Wow, you sure know how to spin a story, don't you?" I said. "David stole the shopping coupons and money I had saved. He forged fake ones to cover it up. And you never said a word about that." Mrs. Zhang and Mrs. Wang both turned to look at Lily. Lily's face flushed with anger. "If you hadn't been so petty, David wouldn't have had to do all this. In the end, you're the one who ruined him." She wiped away a tear. "I know these times are hard for everyone, but if I had any other way, I wouldn't have accepted David's help. His brother died so young. If no one helps me, how am I supposed to raise Kevin on my own?" The crowd began to soften, their expressions filled with pity. I let out a bitter chuckle. "Lily Brooks, you really should join a drama troupe. You'd make a fantastic actress. Talking about how hard life is. You can't survive without help. Then what about me?" I snapped, turning to the neighbors. "Mrs. Wang, Mrs. Zhang, just look at what she's wearing, and then look at me. Look at her son. And look at my Emma." Mrs. Wang and Mrs. Zhang glanced around, visibly uncomfortable. Lily was dressed in a well-kept cotton coat made from quality fabric, with corduroy pants and a neat pair of leather shoes. Meanwhile, my own cotton coat was faded and thin, barely padded, with hardly any warmth left. Kevin looked plump and healthy. Emma, in contrast, was scrawny and frail. Anyone could see who truly needed help. Mrs. Wang let out a sigh. "That David, he's really got no sense. No matter what, a man should first take care of his wife and child. Leaving your family hungry and cold, what kind of man does that?" Seeing that no one was standing on her side, Lily bit her lip. Suddenly, her knees gave out and she dropped to the ground. "Susan," she cried, "I know you're angry with me, but no matter what, David is your husband. You can't treat him like this. I beg you, go to the police station and get him out. If you bring him back, I swear I'll stay away from your family forever, even if I starve to death." With that, she collapsed onto the ground, sobbing. Kevin, seeing his mother fall, charged at me like a little cannonball and slammed right into my stomach. It hurt enough to make me gasp. "You bullied my mom," he yelled. "When my dad comes back, he's going to beat you to death, you stinky woman." I grabbed him by the collar. "What did you say? Who's your dad?" "David Miller. My dad is David Miller." Lily turned pale and rushed over, covering Kevin's mouth. She stammered, "Susan, don't listen to him. He's just confused. He's talking nonsense." David's mother, who'd been pretending to be unconscious, suddenly rolled over and sprang to her feet. Planting her hands on her hips, she pointed at my face and shouted, "Useless woman! Can't even give our family a son, and you've got the nerve to spend our money? Let me tell you, David's older brother is dead, and by tradition, that means David has to take care of both families. It's only right for Kevin to call him Dad. You'd better get yourself down to that police station and tell them this is all a lie. Get David released. Otherwise, wait till he gets out and divorces you himself." "Taking care of two families?" I almost laughed. No wonder David hardly came home in my last life. Whenever I asked, it was always, "I'm busy with work," or "Mom's sick again." So behind my back, this is what he was really doing, playing house with another woman under the excuse of tradition. A neighbor, a woman I usually got along well with, burst out laughing. "Lady, what century do you think we're living in? Taking care of 2 families? What are you even taking care of, those 2 rooms in your broken-down house? Or the chipped pots and cracked bowls?" Laughter erupted all around us, filled with mockery for David's mother and her outdated nonsense. Flustered, she snapped, "What's it got to do with all of you?" I didn't want to waste any more words. I pulled out the divorce report and waved it in the air. "There's no need for this taking care of 2 families business. I've already divorced David. When he gets out of jail, he can go ahead and marry his precious Lily." Hearing the word divorce, a flicker of excitement flashed in Lily's eyes. David's mother narrowed hers and said slyly, "Fine, you can divorce him. But Emma is part of the Miller family. You're not taking her with you. And this house, you're leaving it behind." Looking at her greedy, wrinkled face, I asked calmly, "Any other demands?" She and Lily whispered for a moment, then smugly added, "Emma's still small. You, as her mother, need to pay for her meals. We won't ask much, just $10 a month." The way the 2 of them looked at Emma, their eyes gleaming with calculation, made her shrink behind me in fear. "You 2 really aren't shy about asking, are you?" I said coldly. From my pocket, I pulled out a little notebook. Because of our low income, I had always kept careful records of every penny. Ever since we got married, I'd made a habit of it. I had already gone through and tallied up all the shopping coupons David had swapped out for fakes. I hadn't expected much, but once I did the math, I was stunned. From the time David's older brother passed away until now, just under a year, David had secretly taken at least 30 pounds worth of high-quality ration coupons from me. 20 pounds worth of coarse grain coupons, along with a pile of fabric stamps and postage coupons that didn't even include David's share. I closed the little ledger and looked straight at David's mother and Lily Brooks. "I don't want anything that belongs to David Miller anymore," I said flatly. "But the rest, you can either return it to me now, or I can take this list straight to the police and have them add more charges to his record." "You're so cruel," Lily snapped, completely dropping the act of the gentle, soft-spoken woman. "Those were your things, and you failed to keep track of them. Why should we return anything? We've never even seen them." "Oh," I said coolly. "Then I suppose I'll take this list to the station. Who knows, maybe it'll earn him a few extra years behind bars." I paused, then added, "And I should probably have the police come inspect the house too. If I'm not mistaken, the Seagull brand watch my parents gave me when we got married, the wool pants my brother and sister-in-law gifted, and the 2 embroidered pillowcases from my coworkers, all gone." I turned and smiled sweetly at Lily. She immediately tugged her sleeve down, uneasy. "You're absolutely impossible," she muttered. David's mother jumped up, shouting, "You've been plotting against my son from the beginning. You want to destroy him, don't you? I won't let you get away with it." She grabbed Lily and Kevin and stormed toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back and snarled, "We're not done, Susan. Just you wait." The 3 of them vanished down the alley. "Susan, are you really going to divorce David?" Mrs. Wang asked worriedly. She looked over at Emma with concern. "I have no choice, Mrs. Wang. You heard everything yourself. David's whole family never treated me or Emma like people. It's 1976, and they're still talking about 2 family traditions. I can't live another day like this." I wiped away a tear. "Emma's staying with me. Please, could you watch her for a bit? I need to go to the police station." Mrs. Wang nodded and scooped up Emma. "Go." Honestly, divorcing into a family like that is probably for the best. I gathered my things, took all the fake shopping coupons David had swapped out, and went straight to the station. The moment the officer saw me, he blinked, then smiled. "You're the one who reported the case at the cooperative, right? You came at the perfect time. David Miller is still denying everything. He says he didn't steal anything, and that the fake coupons were just to make his wife happy. He's full of it." I pulled out my savings box. "Officer, these are all the coupons I found at home. I saved them for a long time, and he switched every last one for counterfeits. This proves it wasn't a one-time thing. It's been going on for months." I hesitated, anxiety knotting in my stomach. If he'd just taken things from our home, I'd grit my teeth and deal with it. Emma and I could live on watery porridge and salted vegetables if we had to. I met the officer's gaze, serious and afraid. David's the accountant at the supply cooperative. If he's done anything to their books, what happens then? The officer's expression shifted instantly. You're right. I need to report this to our supervisor. Then, after a pause, would you like to see him first? With another officer leading the way, I entered the holding room where David was being kept. The moment he saw me, he launched into accusations. Susan Marshall, you've gone too far. I already told them the coupons were just for Lily. If you were upset, I would have figured out a way to pay you back. How could you say all those lies and get me locked up? Did you even think about what'll happen to Emma? Did you think about Emma when you gave our meat coupons to Lily while she was home hungry? I asked, my voice cold and flat. I stared at him, eyes like ice. Did you think about Emma when you forged those fake coupons? David's bluster faltered, and his tone shifted to pleading. I know I was wrong, Susan. I messed up. I hurt you. I swear it won't happen again. Please, just say something to help me get out. We're husband and wife. We should deal with things at home, not like this. I almost laughed. Husband and wife? Which household are you talking about, David? The one you're sharing with Lily? His face went pale. Susan, let me explain. I had no choice. My brother died and Lily refused to remarry because she didn't want Kevin to suffer. What was I supposed to do? Not help. I stared at him, his words rolling off like water. My gaze was sharp, unwavering. Maybe it was my silence, or maybe it was the look in my eyes, but his voice gradually grew quieter. Eventually, he bowed his head and muttered, It was Mom's idea. She said it was an old custom. Lily agreed too. I just went along with it, David said. But Susan, I've never done anything to betray you. Please believe me. I know you still care about me. I'm begging you, talk to the officers. Tell them this was all a misunderstanding. As long as I get out, I swear I'll never have anything to do with Lily and Kevin again. I spat in his face. That pathetic eagerness to distance himself made me sick. I didn't want to hear another word. I pulled the divorce report from my bag, placed it on the table, and pushed it toward him. Let's get divorced. No. David shot up from his seat, but the officer next to him pushed him back down. His nostrils flared and his face turned a dark, blotchy red. Susan Marshall, give it up. I will never divorce you. Fine by me. If you end up in prison, I'll go straight to my superiors and file for a compulsory divorce. I retrieved the report, then slid another document across the table. This is the full tally of all the shopping coupons you've stolen from our home over time, and that's not even counting the watch, the pants, and even the pillowcases. I imagine Lily will come see you soon. Tell her this. Return everything immediately, or... I looked up and met David's now livid eyes, his face the color of raw liver. Or I'll report her too. First to your workplace, and if they won't act, I'll go straight back to the police. You're vicious. David slammed the table in rage. You never even used that stuff. So what if I gave it to Lily? That's right, I said, my voice calm and clear. Those were mine, and if I have to burn every last thing, I won't let either of you benefit from it. With that, I stood up, gave David one last cold glance, and walked out of the station. Later that evening, Lily came to find me again. Her eyes were bloodshot from crying, and she looked worn out. Here, she muttered, dumping a heavy bundle onto my table. All of it's back. Was it worth throwing your husband into jail over a pile of things? David wasn't wrong. You really are stingy and small-minded. I casually checked the bundle. The watch, the pants, the pillowcases were all there. There was even a bolt of deep navy wool I had bought specially for David to have a suit made. I remembered now. He said he'd take it to the tailor, but I never saw the suit, so he'd given it to Lily too. Hurry up, Lily urged me. Go now while it's still light out. The station's still open. Go get David released. I looked at her, amused. Why would I do that? You've returned the stolen goods, but the fake coupons? That's a whole other crime, and a much more serious one. David had stolen from me and passed it off as a household issue. That was tricky to prosecute. But forging coupons? That wasn't so easily brushed aside. At this point, all essentials, food, clothes, everything could only be purchased with ration coupons. In my past life, I was jailed for 7 days just for accidentally using one fake coupon. And David, an accountant at the supply cooperative, deliberately forged them? That kind of crime, if investigated seriously, was no joke. I leaned in, my voice low but sharp. You should think this through. If David can steal from me, how do you know he didn't do the same at work? What if he gave you something from the cooperative's books? If it turns out you received stolen property, you're in trouble too, for aiding and abetting. Ever heard of that? You're lying. Lily paled, then spun around and fled in panic. I narrowed my eyes, watching her scramble away. Looks like I hit a nerve. Those two were guilty, no doubt. Within a few days, David, who had been held at the police station, was officially transferred to the detention center. When his mother heard the news, she fainted on the spot. When she came to, the only person beside her was Kevin. Lily had vanished. She'd run away. The cooperative manager and the police confirmed it when they went to her home. The place was nearly empty, just David's sickly mother and Kevin rolling on the floor and screaming from hunger. That's when the manager from the supply cooperative came to find me. "Comrade Marshall," he said, "we can't just let a child and an old woman starve to death, can we?" I glanced coldly at David's mother lying on the bed, casting sideways glances at me, and couldn't help but laugh. "Manager, you know very well I'm about to divorce David Miller. His mother, his nephew, none of them are my responsibility anymore." "You ungrateful wretch," she screeched. "You ruined my son and now you refuse to take care of me? I'm going to report you." I shrugged. "Go ahead." The manager sighed. He'd clearly heard enough bizarre things from David's family over the past few days and didn't even bother trying to persuade me. As he walked me out, he looked like he wanted to say something but ended up just giving my shoulder a pat. "You're on your own now, raising a child. Be careful." I nodded gratefully. David never had the guts to steal large quantities from the supply cooperative. Even if he had, it probably wouldn't be much. He might not get a heavy sentence. But I had made it clear, I was cutting all ties with his family. I wouldn't even lift a finger for his sick mother. The manager was just worried David would come for revenge after getting out. But I'd already made up my mind, except for the first few days of confusion when I was reborn. I'd spent the past week planning carefully. Policies were changing. It wouldn't be long before markets opened up. People were already making a fortune just collecting scraps. I had 2 working hands, I wasn't lazy, and I was great at making dough-based food. No matter where I went, I could feed Emma and myself. Once the divorce was finalized, I was going to sell the house and move away with Emma. A month later, the investigation concluded. David Miller had stolen goods from the supply cooperative and used his position to embezzle public property. He was handed over to the prosecution. Because the amount was relatively small and he pleaded guilty, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Of course, he also had to repay the cooperative for their losses. By then, I had already used the cooperative's certificate and our workplace's documentation to complete a forced divorce. How David managed to repay the significant sum was no longer my concern. I resigned from my job, left Emma in my parents' care, and took the money from the house sale to the provincial capital. My plan was to settle there first, then bring Emma once I had everything in place. I spent about 2 weeks wandering the streets, exploring alleys and markets. Eventually, I made a decision. I'd set up a stall outside the long-distance bus station to sell steamed buns, dumplings, and wontons. The startup cost was low, I didn't need to pay rent, and I could run it by myself. The stall was small, and all the food could be prepared ahead of time. I worked long hours from dawn till night, but the income was surprisingly good. In just half a year, I made what used to take me several years to earn. When I returned home for the new year, I was like a different person. Not just in the way I dressed, but in my whole presence and energy. Once my sister-in-law learned how much I was making in the capital, she couldn't sit still. She and my brother worked at a garment factory, which had been struggling for the past 2 years. Seeing how successful I'd become, she decided to give it a try too. After some convincing from both of us, my father made the call. "We're retiring. We'll watch the kids. You go out and build your business." Once everything was arranged, my mom told me some news. Lily Brooks had snuck back to take her son Kevin, but David's mother caught her. They fought and cursed each other so violently that the old woman, already in poor health, died of fury. Lily fled without informing her workplace and was promptly fired. I heard she started bringing a different man home every night. The gossip had spread across town. After the new year, we all moved to the provincial capital. Thanks to the shift in national policy, we quickly gained a foothold. My little food stall expanded from 2 folding tables to a proper storefront, and eventually grew into a bustling restaurant on a busy street. In time, I opened 2 more branches across the city. Then one day, news came about David Miller. He had died. After getting out of prison, he went straight to Lily Brooks' place. He still clung to the belief that Lily, weak and pitiful, needed him most. But when he got there, he saw Kevin fighting in the dirt with other boys outside, and inside the house, Lily was in bed with a strange man. David snapped. In a fit of rage, he grabbed a kitchen knife, slashed Lily nearly to death, then turned it on himself. They both died. As for Kevin, I heard he was sent to an orphanage. Bookmark. I felt a strange mix of emotion, regret, maybe, but mostly relief. With that, David Miller and I had finally and completely severed ties. From that point on, my life was filled with nothing but sunshine.